Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Uncle Trav's Campaign Notes. I'm the guy with the name of the title. Yeah, that's me, Uncle Trav. Yeah. Welcome back. Hiatus again due to just life. It's with the impending move in now late June. Yeah, I will do these when I can. Now, I know next week I'm not doing anything because it's my birthday week. I'm turning 55 next Wednesday. So it is March 4th today. So in 9 days I will become a senior citizen. I have that week off for vacation. I'm just like, I'm only doing what, you know, I am taking a week off next Monday for this. I will do my damnedest to be back on, let's see, 2 weeks, the 18th? Yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to do this tonight because I'm not going to be here next week to do this. I will still be doing the show, but I wanted to take a week off specifically for my birthday. So, of course, as you know, any publication or publisher I talk about, I'm not getting compensated for them. By them. It's like Wizards don't pay me nothing. Paizo don't pay me nothing. I talk about these products because I see value in them. I use them in my own campaign, and of course, no affiliation with TriTech Games other than much love to them for basically helping me getting me here today. So tonight's topic, and it's something that I'm dealing with now as a game master, it's ending a campaign. Now, it's an inevitability of every role playing campaign. It comes to an end. And it's campaigns, when a GM creates a campaign, it's like writing or any other creative aspect. It's like you have a kid. After a while, you can either say that the kid has, left the nest, flown the coop, or sadly you've lost the child because you had to end the campaign in a less than optimal way, we'll put. As a matter of fact, that's another topic that I can add here because I have my handy dandy 3x5 cards. There we go. Okay. So I have 5 topics now that I'm going to try to talk about in an hour 45. Let's see, hour 45, 105, divided by 5. I could spend about 20 minutes on each topic. Cool. So, of course, we are starting with the old school RPG report. And I have some old school stuff here. It's both stuff by Wizards of the Coast. One is 2nd edition D&D, and the other one is 3.5 D&D. So we're going to go in chronological order. Now, the first one was a 2nd edition module, and it was pretty big. It was a campaign-ending module. It was written to end your campaign. It is called the Apocalypse Stone. And let's just see. Let's get back to this here because, of course, I print out, but I want to get to the front page and get like author. Nope, that's not the one. Okay, Jason Carl and Chris Pramus did this, the Apocalypse Stone. That looks pretty grim there, folks. That looks like, the world is taking a beating and there's some poor bastard left in a cage watching the world burn around him. Because remember, some people just want to watch the world burn. As Michael Caine said in one of the Nolan Batman movies about, that would be The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger and his famous line, "And here we go." Anyways, so the Apocalypse Stone. Now, you are running this adventure off the bat to nix your campaign. It is the whole reason why they wrote it. Now, you are given the option of, the players have some Deus Ex Machina, because normal play, this was made to end campaigns. And it's for at least 15th level characters. Jason Carl and Chris Pramus. And I will do something from now on, if I can. I will read the flavor text on the back page of his stuff that I put. To everything there is a season. Turn, yeah. Every campaign has to come to an end sometime, so why not go out with a bang? The Apocalypse Stone is an epic adventure to challenge high-level characters, but beware, it will destroy your world. This adventure has it all: gods and devils, plagues and pestilence, rains of fire, and world-shattering conflicts. Here is an opportunity for PCs to display undreamt of heroism or fall to ultimate defeat. The Apocalypse Stone is a tool for dungeon masters to present extremely challenging encounters for high-level parties to wrap up a long-running campaign or both. And this adventure can be used with your own game world or any advanced D&D setting. As I said, this came out quite a while. 2001. 2001? 2000. This came out but this was one of the last things that came out before the OGL, because that's when the OGL came out, was in 2000. This was just, apparently there is a pattern with Wizards, now Hasbro, besides them pissing off a lot of people all throughout 2023 with the OGL kerfluffle, and because of an accidental sale on some Magic card shop owner's fault, Pinkerton detectives kicked in the door of an innocent person. Yeah, they tend to give you, when they know they're putting out a new edition, they tend to give you a module or a campaign model to end everything. They don't. It's almost like they barely want you to use the previous edition, even though 2nd to 3rd, 3.0 to 3.5 all had conversion charts. So if you didn't want to end your campaign, you could convert the characters to the next edition's mechanic. They stopped that with 4.0 and 5.0. It's all eyeballing. The campaign notes for how to convert to D&D 5e. Yeah, they pretty much. I read the first couple paragraphs. They want you to eyeball. So the Apocalypse Stone, the GM is going in looking to end the campaign. Now, from what it read, you could have some Deus Ex Machina, some story plot line to save the day, which I really don't like doing. It's rare that I do it, that the players mess up so bad that I got to send in like an NPC or have divine intervention going, "You have been saved. Get up. Your battle is not done." You know, that type of stuff. So, yeah, the Apocalypse Stone, you're going in as a GM knowing this campaign, this bitch is done. So yeah, it's meant to deal with gods and higher forces and lower forces. And it's just meant to wipe out your campaign. Or to alter the campaign so radically that it is a totally new place. Kind of like Kryn after the meteor fell and created the Blood Sea of Istar and changed Taladas and Ansalon. It changed Taladas more. I have the old box set for the other continent in the Dragonlance setting, Taladas, where Minotaurs are much more prevalent. That is where the major meteor hit. It's a concentric fracture of the continent of Taladas. Ansalon, where the War of the Lance was fought, where you have Tanis and Kitiara and Tasselhoff Burfoot and Flint Fireforge and all them, Gold Moon and Riverwind. A smaller meteor hit, and that's what made it hit the theocratic nation of Istar. Destroyed it and created the Blood Sea of Istar, and basically it hit red clay, and yeah, that's why the water looks like blood now. Of course, medieval times, the people are going, it's from all the bodies of the souls that dared to defend the gods because Istar got too mighty and all that. Yeah. Remember, folks, religion was just made to explain how the world works before science got into it. Yes, I'm one of those type of people. If you're using religion to be a nice person, that's okay, that's fine. My personal view is if you have to use a book to have empathy, there's something wrong. Empathy is a natural thing. You have it within you. But if you are following a religious principle, walk the walk and talk the talk. Don't use it as an excuse to be an asshole or a bitch. So, yeah. Apocalyptic settings will change a world as you know it, and it will pretty much end the campaign. So, yeah. This one here, I'm trying to find a place to run it. If I really wanted to end a campaign, if I just wanted to scrap the world and say, you know what, I'm done. Yeah. Now, it's funny. I'll talk about this later, but my co-host on Gaming on the Frontier ended his long-running Bureau 13 campaign. He probably ran that thing for like 20 years. And it was kind of due to the players kind of messing up from what I gathered. And he ended it. And I'm like, you could bring it back. You could do... He said, oh, no, I offered a chance of somebody calling back to the time travel, and then the campaign ended. So he did leave an out. We will talk about methods and ways to end a campaign and all that in the next hour 50. So that is the Apocalypse Stone. That is second edition, one of the last second edition products put out before the OGO came out in 2000. The other one, and this was specifically meant to end a campaign for 3.0, Elder Evils by Robert Schwab. Now, there was another book that came out with it called Exemplars of Evil, and that was just like really powerful, complex villains. No, Elder Evils is campaign-ending stuff because Wizards was so heady with, oh, we're going to get 4th edition and all these MMORPG players, which I don't have a problem with MMORPGs. Yeah, my second wife was messing around on them, and that's why she's my second ex-wife. But MMORPGs of themselves, I don't have a problem with. It's just like a tool. It's like this whole thing about, you know what, my kid's dead, I'm going to sue the gun company that made the gun that so-and-so shot my kid. No. It's a tool. It's the person behind it. So, yeah, Elder Evils is world-ending threats. And on their way to making the MMORPG crowd-friendly 4th edition, because that's what they did with 4th edition. Oh, we want to get all these, WoW and EverQuest players into D&D and, sit down at a table together and be social, and we're going to make the game digital so they can even play it across the planet. Because there is no 3rd to 4th edition translation that I know of. They wanted you to end all your 3.0, 3.5 campaigns to start this new edition. That's why Forgotten Realms had the damn Spell Plague and why the rules for 4th edition was different. The Spell Plague in Faerun was made as an in-game justification to show why the rules were different for magic and whatnot, and combat and all this. Oh, the weave was broken, and so magic works like this now, and yeah. And we saw how 4th edition ended up. There is a reason why it was called the New Coke of role-playing. If you know about New Coke, you know. Real quick, for those of you who don't know, because there are people out there who are young, and it's not being ageist, I'm relating history. Coca-Cola, at one time, Pepsi was the popular of the two major dark soft drinks. I got Wild Cherry Pepsi here, just it's straight, there's nothing in it. Coke wanted to try to get above them. So they came up with a new concept called New Coke. It tasted like Pepsi. Problem is, when you're drinking Coke, you want Coke. If you're drinking Pepsi, you want Pepsi. And as the old saying says, never the twain shall meet. New Coke bombed horribly. It was, I believe, in the mid to late 80s, if not early 90s. Lead balloons sank slower than New Coke. They went back to their old recipe, and now Coca-Cola is the champion over Pepsi and has been for like 30 years. Pepsi is now stuck in second place because Coke realized they screwed up and went raging back to the original. Okay, not the original recipe, the popular recipe. The original recipe actually had cocaine in it. And there are some people out there going, I'll tell you some of that. No. We here at Uncle Trav's campaign notes do not condone illegal drug use in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, 4th edition was called the New Coca role-playing. And that's why we have 5e now. And a lot of people play 5e. Hell, probably one of the biggest geeks on the planet right now, Todd Stashwick, Captain Shaw from Star Trek Picard. He is a huge proponent of 5e. And he's had his Star Trek co-stars play with him. And yeah, he right now is one of the biggest tabletop geeks on the planet. Bucket list item to meet the man because he slated as Captain Shaw in the 3rd season of Picard. But yeah, 4th edition, you were supposed to abandon all your 3.0 campaigns, and that's why you had Elder Evils by Robert Schwab. Now I will read the flavor text for that one. Come on. There we go. Foxit Reader's been giving me a lot of grief lately. And now it's saying Oh, it's not wanting to... There we go. And it means it blocks my camera right now, so I'm waiting for it to come back up so I can switch to Elder Evils. Elder Evils basically has world-ending threats. These type of creatures that are just so nasty and can bring just all sorts of pain. Heck, they've got one which is equivalent to the Midgard serpents called the Leviathan. The serpent that wraps all the way around Midgard in Norse mythology when it's one of the things of Ragnarok. Okay, let's get if this'll... high-level threats for your campaign. Your player characters stand on a precipice, the corpses of slain enemies all around them. Across the great expanse awaits the final threat, their ancient nemesis. What terror will you unleash upon them? This supplement provides DMs with truly wicked threats to challenge high-level adventurers. Each Elder Evil featured in this tome comes with a detailed description, statistic blocks for the Elder Evil and his minions, tips for how to incorporate the Elder Evil into any D&D campaign, adventure scenes, and maps of the Elder Evil's lair, complete with encounters and room descriptions. This book also provides guidelines to help DMs create their own unique Elder Evils as worthy campaign villains and endgame encounters. There it is. These villains were made to end your campaign. Because 3.0 Wizards, this is before Hasbro brought them out, Wizards wanted you to end your 3.0 campaigns and not convert them to 4E because there was such the drastic change. And again, like I said, the Spell Plague was the in-game description to describe why is magic like this? Well, you see, and this happened, and the Spell Plague, and Mister's dead, and the Weave is broken, and Ed Greenwood just looks at, you've destroyed my game. You've destroyed the setting I made. You've killed it. And there was apparently, on the opposite side of the sun from Toro was Abir, another planet, and they switched swaths of land. So it was basically post-apocalyptic fantasy that you were supposed to be playing in the realms. And that's how 4th edition did. And again, 4th edition never got a second printing. They went right to 5th. Hence the new Coca role-playing. It was that bad. It may have lasted, I think, maybe a year and a half, and then 5e came out. So yeah, Elder Evils is another book designed to end your campaigns. Now here's the thing. Not all campaigns end bad. Ending a campaign usually means you have another character or campaign idea, or your characters have gotten up to a high enough level where they don't want to play them anymore. They've gotten bored with them, or they want to retire the characters. Yeah, my character is a plane jumper, and I want him to make an interdimensional cartel of trade. Or my character has land, and he wants to settle down and become a ruler. A baron, a duke, an earl, a viscount, whatever the title would be. And so, ending a story arc usually means you are done with something. You are done with your party, your characters, your players decide, okay, we want to start a new campaign and we want to retire these characters. Or you want to end the campaign as the GM. And usually there are several ways to go about it, which we will discuss. Now, ending a story, as I said, it's not always a bad thing. It's just that you're done with it for one reason or another. And there are several ways to do it, and not all of them are good. Like I said, the Apocalypse Stolen Elder Evils, they're talking about destroying your setting so much that it's no longer the same. That it's just, you're done. Perky Goth and I did that with the Maze World campaign setting that she and I created, 10 years ago now. And so, I may have described Maze World to you, elevator pitch. The chaotic and evil gods of the old Earth religions realize humanity's gotten too cocky with science. We're bringing back magic and the supernatural. It'll destroy their civilization, but you know what? You got to break a few eggs and make an omelet. The good gods, in their last desperate gambit to try to save Earth, grabs a bunch of people from around the world in their dreams and transmits them to this maze world, a labyrinth where all the confluences in the maze are other worlds, other realms. They deal with magic, and the highest tech is maybe 1870s. So, 1 in 100,000 people. And of course, I've used Fringeworthy, so I said, okay, you're Fringeworthy, you're also Mazeworthy on this world, and you're in this dream realm. And so when they came back, you couldn't escape the apocalypse. The best you were doing after learning magic and how to cope in this new world was to help what was left of humanity survive. And it spawned 2 other campaigns, the day after and 2 years after. But we did Maze World, getting all the people trained and up to speed on magic, then the 2 years after, then the day after. The day after actually was a prequel further down the line series. So chronologically it would be 1, 3, 2. And Perky Goth and I have no reason to run Maze World anymore. I mean, we'll pop in once in a while, but we felt we've told the story. That is a post-apocalypse setting. It was it started the campaign, but it ended the world. So, yes, campaign ends can be good or bad, but you're usually doing it because you're bored with something. You want to move on, or your players are done with the campaign. And I'm looking at my phone because somebody's blowing it up, and I have a good idea who it probably is. It's not showing up on my phone yet. Okay, you're hearing the messenger sound. So yeah, ending a campaign. Okay. Ending a campaign, you have your reasons. You have to come up with some methodology to go, okay, how am I going to tie up everything in a little bow here, at least to get this campaign part done? And that's usually what you're doing. You're ending some massive story arc that you planned at the beginning of the game. I will use as an example my Thursday Night Travelers game. I've talked about it in previous discussions, previous episodes, and basically it is the dystopian world with 4-color superheroes. Your typical comic book superheroes, but in a cyberpunk dystopian type future like RoboCop. And it's based in Detroit, so that's the best way to describe it. The way I started that campaign was a magical force came in and brought in a new megacorp, but they were using magic to get their point across, and they were trying to take over. They were trying to use magic to disrupt this high-tech world. The person that did it, and this is thanks to Will Stiebling's old campaign that he brought this idea to me, he came in and he had a portal over the North Sea and of course, there's this massive storm that's formed over the North Sea, and we don't know why it's been there now for 6 years. This weather system is permanent. And you're sending in things, and of course they disappear because he has defenses and all. So it's a portal leading to the Plane of Molten Skies, which Necromancer Games did the City of Brass, and it's the confluence between the elemental planes of fire, earth, and air. And the running joke I have with that, the Sultan is actually Philip Bailey, the lead singer of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Research your 70s R&B. Phil Collins, he did a song called Easy Lover with him. Anyways, so the heroes are gotten together, and now, we're all used to tech and all this, and what do you mean magic's real? And it was Will's character Zen that got the team together under an assumed idea. Alexei Galashvili, I've talked about him before with accent like this. And we're wrapping that game up. Matter of fact, probably either next Thursday, so the 14th. 14th? Yes, the 14th. Or the 21st. Okay, I have someone here called 385 Ice and you. Okay. First time chat, which it could be. And the thing is, my moderator isn't here, but if he was, I'd have him bounced unless he's someone I know. This is where you identify yourself and say, hi, it's so-and-so. So, yeah, we're ending that campaign because I followed, okay. Because they are about to beat the big bad. And they've taken their lumps in this game. One of the characters has been lost to, the dark side, and I killed her off last session. The last session we gamed. Because the last session we had, you're going from 18th to 20th level. You were on the cusp of being epic level. This is the big bad fight. So, this campaign is ending. All 4 of my campaigns are going to be ending in the next couple months. The Sunday spin-off campaign, from which Jeff DeRev had the Skyrim campaign, and things got kind of wonky, so I did a spin-off campaign, and now everybody is ported to that, and we're wrapping up the storylines, kind of. That one's going to be ending probably in the next month. Because remember, I game bi-weekly. So it's like every 2 weeks it's another session, and probably either this Sunday coming up, which is the 10th, or the 24th, this game will be wrapped up and I'm going to be starting the Macross Lost Armada game. So, I'm having to deal with this. All 4 of my campaigns are going to be ending in the next couple months. The Thursday night Traveler's Earth Cabal, the Friday night Hardwired Hinterlands, the Saturday night Pulp campaign in the Wold Newton universe, and the Sunday Skyrim spin-off campaign. This is what gave me the idea to do this topic tonight, because of the fact I'm having to deal with wrapping up 4 campaigns in sort of an immediate area of time. Within a few months of each other, they're all going to be, wrapping up, and there are a lot of things you can do with the campaigns, a lot of ways you do it. That's why I'm doing this episode. The topic came to me while at work. Usually it does. So it's like, I'm at work Monday. Oh, I got my topic for tonight. Yeah, so you're ending a story arc. This story arc for the Thursday game is they are fighting Mr. Sebastian and his forces of Sigil Corp. Yes, I basically did, hi, I'm going to plunder Planescape and use the terms from that to make, oh, we have an app and it's called the Chad. And yeah, the rib cage? No, that's actually a barbecue joint that Sigil Corp does, and it's worldwide. I went deep, and it pissed off Will because he's like, oh, you're using all these terms. I'm like, yes. Yeah, you mispronounce, you're a great GM with imagination, Trav. Yeah. So you're wrapping up some type of story arc, because you usually plan the big story arc at the beginning when you plan a campaign. You're ending a campaign 99 times out of 100 because you have culminated the end of said story arc that you plotted probably a few years ago, because most of my campaigns run about 2.5 years. So you're wrapping up a plot line, and it's often the overarching one, like Farscape. John Crichton gets lost out in space. He ends up getting wormhole technology. His plot line, get the girl, stop the bad guys from getting wormhole tech. And unfortunately, at the end of the series, as you got crystallized by, oh god, I forget the name of the race that was, yeah, the Eidolons. Yeah. Where they crystallized John and Aaron, and Dargo's there screaming. And then they did the Peacekeeper Wars, and that wrapped everything. He, rescued the day, stopped everybody from using wormhole technology, and yeah. So that was the end of the plot line for the arc. Now that you have realizing why you're ending a campaign, and it's also the players may want to end it. They might want to say, we want to retire these characters, come up with a way for us to get where we can get our tavern, we can get our land that we're going to, put a castle on, or we're going to, it's often a player created end, and the GM has to accommodate, saying, okay, how am I going to get these guys all wrapped up in their plot lines? It's not so much your plot line that's getting wrapped up, it's their plot lines that they want to wrap up. They feel that their characters are no longer playable, or, yeah, I just want to wrap up this character and do something new in a new campaign. And as I said, you have a lot of options for players to do this. It's, you get the girl, or you've gotten the title and the land from the king who's, you saved the princess from the dragon. Or you bought the tavern, you just want to be a simple tavern owner and barkeep and, give drinks to the next generation of people who are going to go out and, plod through the wilderness to find fortune and glory. And offer advice like, I did this stuff 30 years ago, and this is why, I have these scars here. You might want to be careful. Here's your beer. Enjoy. And they're looking like, oh, dear God, this is what I signed up for? So, yeah, the players will want to wrap up the campaign. Now, there's also times when your campaign ends abruptly. And that's usually because the campaign falls apart. Now, this was something that happened with the Skyrim campaign Jeff tried to run. There was some miscommunication. There were certain issues that his session 0 could have been better. And so I made another campaign to get a couple of people out of the, to try to, and Jeff tried running the rest with a little bit. And then just after a while, everybody eventually poured it over. And so that campaign ended abruptly. And it was Jeff's first time running his own campaign. You make mistakes as a GM. My mistakes are legendary, and my original gaming group will still throw them in my face 30 years later. That's why I don't hang with them. Because, hey, remember when you made that one stupid adventure? I don't want to hear that. I have my failures screaming in my head every hour. I don't need people outside throwing them in my face again. But yeah, Jeff's campaign did end abruptly, and to try to not let the people who made these characters, have to pitch them, I came up with a new campaign and a plot device to do the spinoff. And I told Jeff, you're getting a spinoff campaign after 4 episodes. Some GMs would take that as a big honor. It's like, my campaign was that good. And he goes, well, you did it because, there was miscommunication with one of the players. And just there was anxiety involved. And yeah, I didn't want somebody having a meltdown. But the campaign did end abruptly. But plot elements of it go on. We will be talking about the possibility of sequel campaigns later on. So yes, campaign, or just a campaign will end because just it's not meshing. The players are like, you know what? Either you're not a good GM or just this idea ain't turning out how we thought. So you're going to have that problem where the campaign's just ended on 2 sessions in it. Oh yeah, just nothing. This is where you save your characters for future idea. This is where JT Messier came in on that Friday Hardwire Airline game. That was from an old Robotech First Edition Palladium campaign that Jerry Gentry ran, and it fell through. It didn't last. So I extrapolated the ending and made JT how he is today. So campaigns do end abruptly. And it's usually personality conflicts, lack of interest down the line, and it happens. No GM is perfect, and it's the old Abraham Lincoln phrase, you're not going to please all the people all the time. They're just going to, it's, I guess, player's remorse. Excuse me, where they sit there and go, this idea, yeah, now that we're doing it, yeah, we're not liking it. Or we're not liking the game mechanic, or we're not liking the setting, or just, you could have just a GM who's not good at it. But they're GMing because they think they are, and they're going to realize, I need some improvement. Yeah, that campaign failed because I messed up and I need to learn from my mistakes. Some people never do. And especially in gaming, they will keep trying to game, and it's just, and after a while, it's stop, get on the other side of the screen. So campaigns do end abruptly. I've even had ones way, way back in the day that just, they didn't work out. Okay, let's try. And it was with the original game. I tried, and they were just, Robert, no, this ain't going to work. Okay, fine. And we did a round robin, and it usually ended up being me and Jerry. I think Glenn might have ran a campaign. Yeah. But it's usually me and Jerry that were GMing. My old friend Jerry Gentry. And the Dementia community, you would know him as Yangdavid Merkunin, the guy who created the song Lead. Matter of fact, in that room right over there, where my roommate is now sleeping. So yeah, campaigns do end abruptly due to internal pressures, external pressures, lack of interest. It happens. Now, there are things to deal with when a campaign ends. Now, the biggest thing, do you want to end it on a high note or a low note? And there are a lot of times you want to end it on a high note and the low note happens. That could be through just misadventure, bad dice rolls, what have you. Or the bad, as I said, like the Apocalypse Stone. That module is intentionally meaning to end your campaign in a bad way. To destroy everything the characters know, and if they survive, they're in a hellscape. Nothing of their original, it's basically like, the fall of their civilization. Like May's World, when magic swept around the earth and destroyed modern civilization. It took them 2 years to get back to any semblance of anything. So happy or sad endings. You could have where, and it's the old trope, the hero gets the love of their life, they ride off into the sunset, the bad guy goes to jail. Yeah, that type of happy ending. Or you get the sad one where either people die or the setting is forever changed due to some apocalyptic event like in the books I mentioned. As I said, you usually try to plan for one or the other, but there are times where the opposite can happen. The Apocalypse Stone does give a means to Yeah, yeah, it might be a Deus Ex Machina, but the characters make it through and you save the world. Okay. Or the player does something really, really smart and pulls out something where and I've had this done before. Ms. Carrie Springer, a dear friend of mine, those 3 words, I cast Hallow. I did a campaign, and it had to do with the old 3035 book, Magic of Incarnate, which essentially was rewritten into Akashic Mysteries by Dreamscard. But they had the Incarnum and the chakras and the spells that you could put on. I did something akin to the Mummy Returns, where it was a tiara worn by a morally ambiguous scientist who was trying to tap into power. And getting into the last part, we got there first. Yeah, she can't get in. We can't let her in. Problem is, she has the power to do it. And this is when Miss Springer looked at me and said, I cast Hallow, and then put a Protection of Evil spell. So she could not enter this space because it blocked her. And it was like 0 hour. If she did not get to this and get to whatever artifact it was, I forget, this was like 10, 12 years ago. You just basically watched her disintegrate and the tiara fell in a pile of ash. That campaign was supposed to be ended. The world was supposed to end. And Carrie pulled it, and I'm there flipping through books and trying to do this, and I'm looking through, the 3.0, player's handbook, and I'm like, shit, she got me, And every time I talk about, being a good GM and coming up with plans that, and she goes, I cast Hallow. And I'm like, so yeah, your players will, you're looking to end the campaign. Either it's the villain's plot, yes, we're stopping him to save the world, or you were actually intentionally to end it like the Apocalypse Stone. And your players will pull a UE and pull something out of their collective rectums and go, or like how did Eric the Enabler, Carrie's old college mate, do? Here, let me wash this off a little bit. Here's my solution. You pulled it out of your ass. Yeah, if I cleaned it off. Yeah. So you could be planning for one ending, and through either excessive planning or just bad luck, your players all have crappy dice rolls, and just the dice are not loving them. Or they just don't get the clues they're throwing at you. My podcasting co-host had that with his players, and that's why his Bureau 13 campaign of like 20 some odd years ended. He just ended the campaign. And they're like, well, what do you mean it's ending? What do you mean the Earth is a story? Well, you had this, this, and this, and you didn't do anything. I told you all the things you needed to do, and you didn't take them. So yes, the villains, the evil entity basically shut down Bureau 13 Earth. Tech is dead. And they were like, what are you talking about? And yeah. But that was the Bureau 13 campaign he ran for like 20 some odd years. Because the players, didn't follow through to save the day. And it could be either through bad dice rolls, or they just don't get something and they don't do the... And of course, me and Bruce and others, we do, okay, you need 3 outs for a campaign. 3 outs for an adventure resolution. Give the characters 3 ways to do it. Of course, they might come up with something, but make sure you have 3 ways that they can... That way then, you're not stuck on one solution. Bruce gave the 3, and apparently his players didn't do anything, so we ended the campaign. And I mean a long-running campaign, not just a campaign setting. So, yeah, happy or sad endings, it depends on what you plan. Do you want the world to be safe from evil because you stopped the evil Dr. Galactor from using his Destructo Ray, or the players didn't get the artifact destroyed in time and it consumed the planet and it's wrapped the planet in cosmic hellfire and now demons are everywhere? So, yeah, there is that. There is the happy or sad ending. It's very rare that you have a campaign and it's just everything is status quo. It's either something really, really good has happened and everybody survives, where you have Christopher Eccleston yelling, just this once, everyone lives, or things have gone to hell in a handbasket and you have to pick up the pieces if you're still alive. Or you may have to run because people know you're the one that screwed up. So your characters are now spending the rest of their lives fleeing from the survivors going, you did this to us. Our civilization is destroyed because you didn't do, and we're going to hunt you down with everything we have. Or you can just leave now and we never want to see you again. Or you can try to fix what you did. Oh, wait a minute, you screwed up. You might make things worse. Just get out of here. So, yeah. Now, yeah, the sad ending could also be you save the world, but it is what is known as a Pyrrhic victory. I do believe in one of the old X-Men comics from the 90s, Xavier was walking again. And they fought the essence, the entity known as the Shadow King. Now, the Shadow King took over Magic. Not Magic. Moonstar. Daniel Moonstar of the New Mutants. And it was an Abdul Karuf, I think, or Ahmed Karuf. And he was a very heavy-set Middle Eastern person. And he became the Shadow King and just... He still wanted to explore the corporeal pleasures of eating and drinking. So Daniel Moonstar got quite corpulent while he was assuming her body. Problem is, she ate only what she needed to survive and then dropped all the weight and got back to being the slim, petite Native American woman she was. Magic had the ability to bring up your worst fears in your mind and make them real. As in, no, this is not an illusion. Yeah, you just summoned... Yeah, your mind just summoned up a dragon, thanks to me. And so, yeah, they beat the Shadow King, but somehow Charles Xavier's spine was broken again, so there's Colossus having to carry him. It's like, we've won this, but it's a Pyrrhic victory. The Shadow King is gone, but I'm unable to walk. Carry me back home, my X-Men. So, yeah, you have the Pyrrhic victory where you've saved the world, but at a great cost. The Crisis on Infinite Earths is a wonderful example. Supergirl was killed in that, along with a dozen other heroes and villains. Not just wiped out of existence where they watched people die. Cole of the New Teen Titans was killed during the Crisis, Jericho's girlfriend. There is the iconic cover, and I think it is of the 12th issue of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Superman is there sobbing, holding Supergirl's corpse, and all of the heroes are around him, just like... Because they're honoring he lost his cousin. The only other link he had to Krypton. So yeah, you won the big apocalyptic battle that was going to destroy everything. Yeah, you combined all the Earths into one, but there was a cost. So, Pyrrhic. The overall, it's like the Doctor in the episode where he recognizes his face from when David Tennant played the role. I'll win any war you want. I'm sick and tired of losing battles. They won. It's like they won the war but lost the battle. So there is the Pyrrhic victory at the end of a campaign. Yes, we have lived on, but we will honor our fallen comrades. And in the Thursday night game, we're already doing that because Nymph's original character, Kira, yeah, they managed to bring her back to the light, and then she was killed by an unseen force using baleful teleport. She just discorporates right there in Aegis's hands. So yeah, they know, okay, that was a psionic attack. Yeah, we have a psionic around here somewhere who didn't want us to get Kira back. And next Thursday, not this coming one, next Thursday they're going to learn who that is. They already have a good idea, but I'm going to spring it on them. So yeah, happy or sad endings. Now, as I said, your happy ending, that's just... And no, we are not talking about that, get your minds out of the gutter. You want that, you go over to the massage parlor and, we treat addiction and do laser hair removal, and it's reputed to have the happy ending. That place on the corner has actually become a local meme on Facebook. They took a picture of it and said, if you live in Westland or Garden City, you know what happens here. And I'm like, oh dear God, the party store I've been going to for the past 20 years, that it shares that building. That used to be a dentist's office. Yeah. So we're not talking about those type of happy endings, people. We're, like Uncle Roger, we're trying to be family-friendly show here. But you have the happy ending where, again, you beat the bad guy, you stop the threat, and okay, that's the end of the story arc, and your characters live happily ever after. Often attaining a relatively high level of experience, and then you can say, yeah, often I'll do like, okay, well, what is your character going to be doing now that, the job of big bad destroying is done? What do you want to do? Well, I want to run my company, or I'm going to get married to this NPC or whatever, and you figure out what you're going to do, and that's the end of the campaign. So yeah, happy or sad endings is one of the things you have to decide, or often there are certain times it is decided for you through often player interaction some way. Usually just bad tactics or bad dice rolls, and you could end up, it's that wonderful family-friendly saying, screwing the pooch. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of the things you have to deal with when you end a campaign. How it ends. The tone. And that's another thing. How are you going to do, you have this choice of an apocalyptic ending. Okay, not a choice, it's an option. It's a variable in the equation of ending a campaign. You have to figure out what happens if the quest fails. You don't throw the ring into Mount Doom. Or the big bad. Let's say in the Thursday campaign, Mr. Sebastian wins. He's already taken out his enemy, who is laid up in the Archangel's med bay with Nox, Nymph's character. Nymph left the group because she knew she wasn't going to be back. Nox is now an NPC in the med bay watching over Zen's. She manufactured a drug in his body. It's healing him, but he's still out of the battle. He's kind of still at death's door. So there is a chance that something could happen and just, yeah. I could turn things around and just wipe out this team or damn near everybody in it. That is an option for the sad ending. It's just the bad guy wins or that you fail to finish the quest. We all know what happened if the ring were not to be thrown in Mount Doom. Sauron would have got it eventually from Frodo, and he would have taken over Middle-earth. Endgame. As the late, great Bill Paxton said in Aliens, game over, man, game over. Bill Paxton, the only guy to be killed, was it by an alien, a Terminator, and something else, and a Predator. Yeah. That's not a trifecta, So, yeah. There is that chance that I can't see evil winning the day. Well, if you screw up on a quest, yeah, there is a chance that evil's going to win. There is that chance that evil is going to prevail. We don't like it. We as a culture and as a people want to see the good guys win. And just, it's not happening. That is when you have to realize. Now, either way, whether you have a good ending or a bad ending, you have to realize that your campaign, the arc may be done, but you still have more stories to tell in the setting. It's just this particular story has its alpha and omega. So you could have a sequel or a spin-off. Now, with Maze World, we had a sequel and a prequel. And so, okay, Gina and I sat down. And again, this was still like 6-7 years ago, if not more. And it's like, okay, we did the original scenario. Let's do, okay, it's 2 years down the line. Earth is rebuilding. The original player characters are all now epic levels, so they're now running various facets of Earth or other parts of the multiverse. And it's the new avatars. These are their proteges they pick to carry on and help protect Earth, because these guys are busy basically all but running Earth now, rebuilding it, getting various geopolitical entities back or creating new ones or guiding them in some way. And so they all picked proteges, so it was the proteges' turn to continue. They passed the torch, as it were. And so that was a sequel. And then I did another sequel. We explored, okay, we did the moment up to when everything fell and 2 years afterward. What about from this moment from when it is the direct sequel to the first one, but it's a prequel to the third one? And that I just called that the day after. And that was the Maze World game based in Calhoun, Georgia, where I played Dex, Amber played Nova, Jeff played Cornell, Z played Daryl, and Gina played two characters. First, the Arctic Elf from 20,000 years ago, and then the Kitsune from the Maze World, who came and helped out. Because Gina has this thing of switching characters halfway through. It's the ADHD, I understand. And so, making a sequel or a spin-off in that world. I've done that, and I try to link all my games so there's continuity. Now, technically, this Travelers game that I'm ending up was a sequel game of the original one when I was running 2 separate Thursday campaigns on a Thursday. So once a month we'd be touching on a campaign. I was planning 5 campaigns. It was just too much for me. I had to merge those 2 and move it to another world. That ended up being Prometheus. And those campaigns were the predecessors to this Cabal Thursday night game that I'm wrapping up. So a way that you can end a story but keep the setting alive, good or bad. Remember, Maze World, we did 2 sequels on, okay, the world has been changed irrevocably by the entrance of magic and the supernatural. How does the world go on? And we did the 2 years after and the next morning. It's in the same world, and or it has the same characters. It's like Jeff's Skyrim campaign abruptly kind of ending. Well, he tried playing with Pixie and Z for a little while, just because I had to take Amber out because those 2 were butting heads. The session 0 didn't go well. There were concepts that Jeff had and Amber was going against him, and I saw them. They were starting to get angry. And Amber was pregnant at the time with Ollie, so it's like, baby hormones. It was, okay, I will do this here. Don't take this personally, but I'm not seeing this end well. And also, I'm a GM. It's hard for me to play. I haven't played the game regularly in over a decade easily. So I said, I'm going to run this campaign. We can be concurrent. We could still talk via Discord, that we're communicating exponentially. Yeah. So when you end a campaign, it's usually good to leave room for a spin-off or a sequel, because you can touch on those old things where if your players are there in this sequel campaign, they can bring information from that other campaign and go, oh yeah, when that character made this base and we're taking it over now, or that character has come back and, like Zen, he's a soul fracture, a forcibly magically induced clone of the original Zen. So you can bring back character concepts, and of course, this is the son of that character, and it's been 20 years, and he's now. Yeah, if you're going to wrap up, end a campaign, try to leave room for a sequel, because it'll give that other campaign a sense of immortality. Because then you can sit there and go, oh yeah, I can pull stuff from this campaign, and I've done that already. I've done a sequel campaign to my Robotech Nightbane game, my upcoming Macross the Lost Armada. The factory ship that is going to be one of the few ones remaining is going to be called the Messier, because it was named after John Thomas Messier. Schwad cleared his name. And yeah, he's disappeared, but yeah, he ended up being a hero. So we're going to name this factory ship after him. It is the Messier. So yeah, leaving a sequel, room for a sequel or a spin-off is wonderful. Because it does. It gives your campaign that you have a sense of immortality. Continuity. You can draw upon that. You might have even a player, the character that was a player now is an NPC. Let's say I take somebody's old character I have and I bring them back. Yeah, they're now retired and all this, and yeah, you know what? We can visit that one guy who did stuff 20 years ago. Let's go talk to him, and I get to play somebody else's character and try to do the best I can to imitate them. But when we did that, that's how we did this here. Things are different now. You're going to have to find your own way to take care of this new problem that's come up. I mean, I can offer you advice, but yeah, I'm out of the game now. I retired for a reason. This is why you guys are doing this stuff. Because then also you have that as a Deus Ex Machina, and we had to have the old guys come in and rescue us, and players don't like that because it's a cop out, but there are times it has to happen. Just don't let it happen a lot. So yeah, sequels and spin-offs. That's why I have my worlds in Fringeworthy, because I just put them on the various Fringe worlds, and I know, I can go back there and pull information from that game and make a new campaign. I've got as I said, I've got campaign ideas where I'll never run all the campaign ideas I have. I'm going to be 55 years old. I see myself with the life expectancy of the Pulaskis. I have another 20 years. That's another 10 campaigns. I know I've got more than 10. I'll come up with more than 10 campaign ideas. There will be campaign ideas I take with me to the grave. So, yeah, it's a good thing to do with your campaigns is not only leave a loophole in case the players, unless you want to destroy the setting or irrevocably change it, but find some way to use it at a later date. I've always told, and it was the time Pixie had the meltdown about Pokemon D20, Pokemon OGL Fringeworthy, and always save your notes. If you remember that Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie where Tony Stark comes in the suit there at the Statue of Liberty and rips Peter a new one, it was that type of epic bitch out to Pixie about that. Like I said, I use notes from my games 30 years ago and bring them back now. So always save old campaign folders and stuff. Oh yeah, this big, like here's the campaign folder coming up for the Reality Nights game, the Mary Sue game, where Beth, Courtney, Gina, Carrie, Fur, and Joe Moore are all playing hyped up versions of themselves. I'm playing Silas Drawn, the Ferunian monk who is the last Reality Knight, and he has to train all new Reality Knights or otherwise they get wiped out. This folder here, this starts everything writing, Silas's stats here. This will be my Bible for that campaign. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 12 other notebooks here of past, future, and current campaigns right down here. Let me try to... There. That's where I keep them. And they're in stacks there. Okay, I need the Robotech one for Macross. And try to, It's like the old Ghostbusters 2 thing with the tablecloth. And the flowers are still standing, Which Bill Murray, they did that, and they just said, yeah, Ivan Reitman just said, yeah, go with it. So, yeah, you have choices in what to do with your campaign and wrapping it up, because in a way, it's, in one way or another, even if the campaign ends badly, i.e. everybody gets wiped out or TPK or whatever, your child is still left the net. You're not killing off the child because you still have room later to bring back stuff and recycle or whatever. But running a campaign is like raising a child. And the whole saying, it takes a village. That's your players. Now, when you all bring this child to fruition and it's the campaign's end, and you end the campaign and the parent, and it's over and you have, okay, we ended it and it's weird that I don't have this campaign anymore. That's empty nest syndrome. I've had that. Of course, I was the non-custodial parent, so for me, it was no more visitations for my kid, which kind of started when they were 17 because they were starting to shadow at vet clinics because my kid wanted to be a vet tech. And so, but when that 18th birthday hit, November 2nd, 2011, she was 18. Excuse me, they were 18. Let's do the correct pronouns here with my child. And I had this empty feeling. Okay, there's no more, it's like my kid is now going to visit when they want to. It's not because it is mandated by the courts and the mom sent Shelly over. And I'm talking with the coworker I used to work with above me at Napa, and they said, you're doing an empty nest. You're an empty nester now. You're no longer having to take care of a kid because Shelly's grown. I'm like, oh, dear God. Yeah, it is. It's so weird feeling it like this because Shelly didn't live with me full time, and then they moved out. But it was still empty nester, and that's what it is when you have a campaign that ends. Now, granted, I keep cranking out campaigns, so I guess that's my way of not mourning the ending of a campaign because I know I got another one right away. Problem is, I got 4 campaigns that are ending now. I have, the Thursday game, the Traveler's Cabal. Friday, the Hardwired Hinterland campaign, where we're now going up against both the Flayers and the Sentinels from the X-Men. So we have 2 enemies that we're having, and that's how this campaign's going to end up. But once those 2 are done, campaign goes off. Now Schwad can take the other people home. JT will stay behind because he got himself locked into the digital Hardwired Hinterland. But it's along the lines of you'll always have a home here. Come back and you're always welcome. The home tree is, 6 miles away. The Saturday game, it's the Wold Newton Pulp universe, and right now I have them on the World of Tears, and I've upped the fantasy and magical, but it's the World of Tears. Philip Jose Farmer's 6 or 7 books he wrote. Excuse me. They are fighting a demi-lich that, yeah, they killed him back on This Demi-Lich was that powerful and they had their pulp-style rocket and destroyed him. They're now back on the Demi-Lich's world looking for the phylactery. Plus, it's a Demi-Lich, so there are 8 soul gems embedded into around the skull. And that's all a Demi-Lich is a floating skull. Now, they can assume a human form with Alter Self, but Lord Benefice is just an undead skull with magical powers. The reason why it's reforming is because, yeah, they took out those 8 soul gems, but the phylactery was still back in its lair on the World of Tears, the magic world, as they call it. So they're now hunting down a Demi-Lich's phylactery before it reforms. And they know how powerful it is. The only reason they beat it is because of, they were in a rocket in Earth orbit. The Sunday game is, I'm using the Amethyst setting. It's the Skyrim spin-off campaign. And they're bringing the battle to them, and they already have a plan. It's just now they have to implement it. The Armada up above this post-apocalyptic Earth that the Amethyst setting from Diaz Ex Machina, let's pronounce Chris Diaz's name correctly. Diaz Ex Machina's Amethyst setting has a revived lost Martian colony, and they call themselves the Saints, and they have an armada of ships outside of Earth-Moon orbit, so the enchantment disruption field that is around Amethyst Earth doesn't affect their ships. But they're still sending their soldiers down to foment and agitate, and they're getting a little more pushy. And so our team, Trevor, Leona, Morgan, Dulce, Nephith, and Captain Buttercup, again, Michael's 3-foot-tall Khajiit necromancer from the Skyrim realm, they're about to go up and foment and agitate on their own. We have rings of invisibility, and we know how their ship works. We're going to cause all sorts of trouble, and then we're going to get a bomb and put it in their orbital shipyard over Mars. So that campaign is going to be ending. So sometime in the next couple months, I'm going to have 4 campaigns ending. And so this hit home. I'm like, this is my subject. How to go about ending a campaign in one way or another. And as I said, the fact that you're ending the major plot line of your campaign, whatever it is the GM plotted in the beginning, or the players may have helped. The players might have said, you know what, we want to run this campaign with these characters this way. And it's, again, collective storytelling. Everybody is ending the campaign. The fact that it may end abruptly. People leave the campaign, it falls apart, or a TPK, and just, okay, that's the end of the campaign. I've been in a TPK. First session, I was the last halfling standing. I have been the victim of a TPK. Jerry Gentry ran it. It had our old group plus Bad Kitty, who used to live down there. And this was the Faerun campaign where I was a halfling rogue and she was a human priestess of Shar. And we had the running joke like, yes, I did bring you home to my parents. You had to crawl through their home because you're 6 feet tall. Halflings being, hobbits only being, 3 feet tall. Yeah, this is my girlfriend. Why is she crawling? She's human, Dad. What, you're dating a human? Yeah, I called it a 2-day climb. Anyways, so, yeah, we got into a battle, and Jerry just sent first-level orcs, and it was all bad dice rolls. I missed with my dagger, and I was cleft in twain with an orc battle axe. I was literally beside myself with the fact that I was the last person to die in that game. You see what I did there? Yes, this is the humor that you get when you get here. Happy or sad endings. You either win the day or you lose the day. Either it is planned that way, or things happen where you manage to avert the horrible ending that you planned and was supposed to be, or something happens where the players or the dice screw the players over, and, well, endgame. And what happens when that bad endgame happens? And then, of course, we have leaving room for a sequel or a spin-off, which, as I said, I like to do that because it gives that previous campaign some immortality. And when something ends, remembering it is the best way to give immortality, a measure of immortality to somebody. My grandmother died 3.5 years ago, the Friday of Labor Day weekend, 2020. So this Friday of Labor Day weekend coming up, be 4 years, my grandmother, the woman who helped raise me, has been gone. The fact that I talk about her and the fact that I use the quotes and the stories that she told me, it gives her some measure of immortality. Now, the thing is, I've not been to my grandmother's house in years, so going there this coming week to drop off my mom's stuff that I've been holding on to, that's going to be that closure. But it's also going to bring back a lot of fond memories because I spent a lot of time in that house. My grandmother would pick fresh raspberries from the backyard. I used to play in that neighborhood, the ballpark across the street, that you look out the front door and the ballpark's right there. So, yeah, giving remembrance to old campaigns will give them some measure of immortality in a sequel or a spin-off. And I do. I try to connect all my campaigns together. So it's like, oh yeah, you remember this guy who's in this campaign? It's Fringeworthy. This is the dimensional analog. It's a different character, but the same guy. And we're kind of doing that now with Courtney's Order of the Iris. Because her one character is Ayame, which is Japanese for Iris. And she has all her mentally linked dimensional analogs now that are forming. So far, Sarah James from the Hardwired Hinterland and Suki Fuchuka from the Cabal campaign. And Courtney's running with it. And after these campaigns end, if she does another linked analog or linked variant, that'll call back to all those other campaigns because Courtney will be bouncing in between the voices every so often. And I've gotten good lists enough to, okay, that's Ayame. Okay, that's Sarah. Oh no, the snark in that. Yeah, no, that's not Courtney's snark. I love you, Courtney. It's Suki. So running spin-offs and linking campaigns to others helps give that ended campaign a little bit of immortality other than, running jokes. Because if you could bring aspects of that old campaign back into a new campaign in one way or another, even just talking about it like, yeah, we were on the Fringe Pass and we went by that one Earth that, yeah, it was all hellfire and the mana was all ridiculous and everything there. Yeah, I think some magical apocalypse happened. We went by that. We just stopped, looked in, saw it was bad, and came back out. Because that'll be the one that they were just in, where the fantasy world that, Soren got the one ring, it didn't make it to Mount Doom in time. So, yeah, you have these options to wrap up a game that in one way or another will still live on in some way, even though that campaign is done. Your characters have either retired or just they go on, or sadly they don't make it and the world is gone. But there's still something there. The campaign made its mark. It is an indelible memory in your players and in the GM's minds. And it's the fact that I link all of my campaigns together and make sequels and spin-offs and whatnot. It gives because you're not ever totally done with a game setting. The whole point of a game setting, if it's a one-shot game setting where it's just, okay, you can only do this type of adventure and you're done, that's a badly made game setting. I've managed to pull game settings out and rework them in various ways. And just, yeah, it's like game settings should give you dozens of ideas. And you can run all these dozens different stories in the same setting and either link the stories or make them where they're far enough apart where, yeah, it's in the same world, but it's on a different continent. It's like Galarian. You could have a campaign that starts in the Inner Sea and then another one, the Dragon Empires. They're in the same world, it's just they could be happening concurrently opposite sides of the planet. Or the people from the Inner Sea go over the end of the world, which is their North Pole, and down to the Dragon Empires, where it's an Asian motif setting. I've adventured briefly and I have run an adventure in the Dragon Empires. And it's a cool setting. You need to get the Dragon Empire's Gazetteer from Paizo. And you have the Chinese-based country, the Japanese-based country. Another one that has different settings on the same planet where they're akin to, oh, here's Europe and all this, and over here is, Asia, is Gilded Suns, and oh god. Now I gotta look and see. And I'm gonna have to look, you're gonna have to give me a second here, it's just... But yeah, Gilded Suns does that multiple, where you could run a setting on that world and run a sequel game. Here it is. Oh, let's go back here. Yeah, we're trying to... Yeah, Gilded Suns. Here we go. Durr. Golden Celestial Games. That's who does Gilded Suns. You can have a campaign set in Pratham, which is their Europe and America continent combined, and then go over to Balam Pratal, I think is their Thai-based setting there. It's on the same planet of Parathraxis, but you could have a spin-off campaign. Oh, we go there and we're doing a game now akin to the Meiji Restoration. Which, again, never do a game on the Meiji Restoration when you have an archaeologist in your group. I found this out. I don't know if I told this story, I'll do it real quick. Campaign ideas to run for the Thursday group. Courtney's in it. And I said, okay, well, we have the Steampunk Wuxia campaign where you have Westerners and they're all there during, late 19th century Japan. And Courtney is there just dead stone voice. You're going to try to run a game in the Meiji Restoration with an archaeologist. And then the woman, I adore Courtney. I can't talk enough about her. She's a wonderful gamer. I've met her. She's a sweetheart. Busts out in idiomatic Japanese because I think her master's thesis was on Japanese architecture. And I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing this. No more historical campaigns with an archaeologist in the game. And I haven't, and I'm not going to. That's not happening, no. Unless I sit there and pick Miss Stahl's brain incessantly or make her, okay, this is the campaign's SME. And then just, okay, she and I talk every week or so and say, okay, this is what's going on, I need to get this right. No, I'm just not going to run the historical campaigns with an archaeologist in the campaign. But you can do that. You can sit there and have a setting. If a setting is done correctly, you could have 4, 5, 6, 7 campaigns in that same setting in different parts of the world, or in the same parts of the world, and they're just spin-offs. But they're still connected by the setting. And that's something you can do. As I said, if a setting is a one-shot that you can only one type of adventure, it's not a good setting. It wouldn't even be published. I've never had a setting that bad where I couldn't come up with more ideas for it. So, yeah. Ending a campaign, in a way, it's a metaphorical death of a plot line. And, everything dies. That is the main fact of life. Death comes for everybody. The end. There is always a beginning and an end for everything. Campaigns are included too. You put a lot of work into running a campaign and GMing a campaign, and the players put their hearts and souls into it, and eventually it's going to come to an end. Now, there are a few campaigns that are out there that have been running for 20 years, but they will not run forever. A good example of that would be the late great Aaron Alston's Strike Force. That probably ran for about 30 years, and it was a game that for a very short time in the beginning, Steve Jackson, the GURPS guy, the Car Wars guy, the In Nomine guy, the guy who made the Munchkin card game. Steve Jackson was a very early player in that Strike Force game. Hero games, they've redone it for 5th and 6th edition, champions. Aaron Alston died a few years back. But his Strike Force campaign is probably still being run by the players if somebody else took over. They had all Aaron's notes of the stuff they had. Okay, we're still going. But every campaign does have to end for one reason or another. It is an inescapable truth, and you're running a campaign for the sake of running the campaign and having fun, but you are delaying the inevitable. It will end after a while. And I have forgotten the amount of campaigns I've ended over the years, over the decades. But as I said, I am hoping that giving you these tips will help you in some way have, what's the term I'm looking for here? Be at peace with ending your campaign because you know you've done it correctly, that you've given it the chance to run its course, or if it didn't run its course, you bring it some aspect of it in a new way, like with the Skyrim spin-off campaign. All of the people in that campaign have been ported to this new one. So despite the setting change and the change in GM, these characters are still getting to do the stuff that they planned out, and they're having fun. And they know that this campaign is probably going to be ending in the next month or two. It could end this coming Sunday. It could be another 3 sessions. But yeah, it's going to end. And I will have fond memories of this campaign because it's something I had to pull out of my ass on the fly because sadly Jeff and Amber